How's it going, guys, and welcome to a brand new video. In this video I will be continuing the build I did on the carport, so I hope you'll enjoy the next part of this. In this part I will be mainly focusing on building the frame of the carport. So the part previously I did the foundation of it, and so this part is going to be all about how I make the frame. And then the next part will probably be about the roof and the ceiling that will come into the carport. So I hope you'll enjoy this part, and look out for the next part when it's coming out. Of course, because we were only building for our friends and we had never done anything of the likes of this before, we just went along with our experiences of working together and thought of what to do as we went. Soon it became clear to us that the meager plans we had actually made were quite helpful, providing us with a clear idea of the frame. To first figure out how we were actually going to make the carport hang over, we thought of attaching part of it to the house, so we made preparations. The basic frame was going to have a big rectangular shape, with beams running across the inside. The full length of the longer side is 5 meters, and the beams for the shorter side are cut at 331.5 centimeters. Right here I've laid down the two long ends next to each other to mark where the cross beams will be running across, so they won't come out crooked or tilted. As you can see right here, I'm measuring out all the beams before cutting them to size. Part of the frame will be attached to the house. This means we can't drive the bolts used through the other side. To solve this, I cut a notch in the beam where the cross beams can rest on, so they don't have to be bolted in place. The way I'm making these notches is first tracing the dimensions of the crossbeam onto the other beam. Then, after I've decided the depth of the notch, which should be less than half the thickness of the beam you're making the notch into, I carve out the notch using a circular saw and a chisel. Here you can see me cut the 3 notches needed. The beams that make up the rectangle are the biggest ones. These are 70 by 170 millimeters. There are also the ones that we will be attaching to the house. The beams that span across the construction are 70 by 120 millimeters. Because the panels making up the roof and those that will form the ceiling are 121 centimeters wide, the cross beam should be roughly 60.5 centimeters apart, allowing the seams of the roof and the ceiling to be precisely attached on a beam. Here is a construction drawing of the top view including the roof panels and the side view. Here you can see me using brick wall plugs to attach the two beams to the house, making sure they are tilted the slightest bit to allow rainwater to collect on one side of the roof, where the drain will be. You can see the longer beam spanning over the ground pretty far without support. After having calculated the weight, overhang and the strength of our plugs though, we came to the conclusion that no extra support was needed. It is still ill-advised to actually stand on that side of the roof once it's finished though. Once the wall-supported beams are attached, the other long beam has to be prepared and pre-drilled to make attaching the cross beams easier later on. To hold the beam up while we work on building a pillar, we used a piece of wood as a stand and connected one side to the rest of the frame. For connecting the longer beam to the wall-mounted one, you can see I used a drill to quickly secure the bolts in place. This piece has to be removed from the pillar so the beam will fit right into it, making it kinda like a puzzle piece. Now the pillar has to be cut to length. Of course, the same thing applies to the second pillar. After the metal plate is attached to the bottom, the pillar can be placed, and as you can see, the notch I cut fits perfectly. The same thing goes for the crossbeams. Due to my father and I often applying this method of attachment, we've become quite competent at it. The second pillar had to be cut in an even more intricate shape, otherwise interfering with the crossbeam. Here's a tiny time lapse of all the crossbeams being put in. With the final one in its place, the last pillar can be put down, adding support. And this is all there is to building the frame of this carport. So that was basically it for this video for today. So in the next part, as I said, I will be building the roof, I will be building the ceiling, so I hope you'll be looking out for that one as well. I really enjoyed building this part thus far, and I hope you guys have enjoyed watching me build as well. I still want to thank my patrons. No, just kidding guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video today, and I hope you guys will enjoy my next videos as well. I will see you guys in the next video.